The Dangers of Water Fluoridation by Jesse Wright. What is fluoride? Why is it in our drinking water? And whose idea was this? The chemical names for the fluoride in our drinking water are sodium fluoride, sodium silicofluoride, and fluorosilicate acid. Fluoride was first introduced to the public drinking water as an experiment. It was explained as a great medical innovation, considered to be safe, and promoted dental health. In 1957, Dr. Harold Hodge said on behalf of the government, quote, "Fluoridation is safe and causes no risk to the health," unquote. He also stated that the, quote, "ADA recommends smoking Viceroy cigarettes," unquote. Remember, you can trust them. They're working for big business, the government, and they're wearing lab coats. These fluoride compounds are found in the biohazard waste made from the creation process of fertilizers, steel, nuclear, and aluminum industries. These industrial plants collect the toxic compound in scrubbers. This is then sold to us as rat and cockroach poison, and also for water fluoridation. In 1939, Alcoa and the Dow Chemical Company transferred its technology to Germany. At the end of World War II, the U.S. government sent Elliot Perkins, a research worker in chemistry, biochemistry, physiology, and pathology, to take over the chemical plants in Germany. Perkins learned from the German scientists that they had devised a scheme during World War II using fluoride in the drinking water to easier control the masses of prisoners in the camps and the populations in the cities they had taken over. Keep in mind that the main ingredient in Prozac and Paxil is a fluoride compound. Fluoride causes irreversible damage to a part of the brain in neuron transmitters responsible for independent thought, thus making the person more docile and easier to control. Hitler's eugenics program was no secret. The CIA quickly picked up where he left off and made chemical control of people a main part of their research. Proof of this is stated in the Rockefeller report. Quote, "The drug program was part of a much larger CIA program to study possible means of controlling human behavior," unquote. Rockefeller report. Fluoride compounds are found in over 25% of major tranquilizers and is often called the, quote, "chemical lobotomy," unquote. Did you really think Hitler cared about the dental hygiene of those he conquered or was about to exterminate? As research was completed by Dr. Charles E. Perkins, chemist wrote, quote, "I say this with all the earnestness and sincerity of a scientist who has spent nearly 20 years of research into the chemistry, biochemistry, physiology, and pathology of fluoride. Any person who drinks artificially fluoridated water for a period of 1 year or more will never be the same person mentally or physically." Dr. Charles E. Perkins, chemist. Quote, "Regarding fluoridation, certainly there has been more litigation on alleged damage to agriculture by fluoride than all other pollutants combined," unquote. Dr. Leonard Weinstein. Quote, "Airborne fluorides have caused more worldwide damage to domestic animals than any other air pollutant," unquote. U.S. Department of Agriculture. When these companies were faced with the problem of how to dispose of the excessive amounts of toxic waste they were producing, also mounting lawsuits for environmental pollution, Alcoa, the Aluminum Company of America, the largest producers of fluoride at the time, hired Dr. Gerald J. Cox, an assistant director with the Mellon Institute of Industrial Research, to discover if fluoride could be beneficial. Dr. Cox ran a test for Alcoa. Using a pharmaceutical-grade fluoride, claimed that it helped prevent tooth decay in rats. Dr. Cox, with vested interests, presented his findings to his employer. Alcoa then presented this to the government, who in turn started the fluoridation of our drinking water. Keep in mind, the FDA does not recognize fluoride as a drug, but the EPA and CDC recognize it as a poison. Over 22,000 people die each year due to fluoride poisoning. Most of these deaths are in infants, small children, and the elderly. The maximum safe amount of fluoride for adults can be found in 1 glass of tap water. It is recommended that we ingest 6 to 8 glasses of tap water daily. We do need water, but not the chemicals added to it. Fluoride is an accumulative poison. The more you water the fruits and vegetables, the more concentration they accumulate. Up to 900 ppm is added to your TV dinners, powdered eggs, toothpaste, and mouthwash, prescription drugs that contain fluoride, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle, and other foods. We consume sometimes upwards of 250 times the safe amount of fluoride. They do not even consider this, but it must be safe. The government said so. Quote, nature has devised a way of keeping away fluoride from young children. The breast milk only has 0.04 ppm. This is 25 times less the amount in a glass of water. It is poison, unquote. Dr. Vivian Howard, fetal pathotoxicologist. Quote, a real concern with young kids, especially newborn infants, is when children are drinking a formula made with fluoridated drinking water, they are getting an inappropriate dose of fluoride in the developing brain. This will cause the infant or young child to develop brain deformities, as well as other health risks, unquote. Dr. William Hersey, Vice President, EPA Union. Fluoride can cause death in children less than 6 years of age because they are more prone to fluoride poisoning. The label on your fluoride toothpaste reads, as ordered by Center of Disease Control and Prevention, quote, if swallowed, get medical help or contact poison control, unquote. It is recommended that a small pea-sized amount is what to use, and that is the toxic amount. This is also equal to 1 8-ounce glass of tap water. Fluoride is the only contributor to the creation of fluorosis. Once dental fluorosis is evident, the person will definitely have fluorosis in other parts of the body as well. Prior to the 1940s, you could only find fluorosis where the people were drinking from a contaminated well. Quote, the NHANES survey found an overall dental fluorosis rate of 32% among U.S. children aged 6 to 19, unquote. Center for Disease Control. Quote, if using a product that needs to be reconstituted, parents and caregivers should consider using water that had no or low levels of fluoride, unquote. ADA. Quote, fluoridation is the greatest case of scientific fraud of the century, if not of all time, unquote. Dr. Robert Carton, Ph.D., former U.S. EPA senior scientist. Robert Carton, Ph.D., former risk assessment manager for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, November 24th, 1992. Quote, we found that exposure to fluoride in urine was associated with reduced performance, verbal and full IQ scores before and after adjusting for confounders. The same pattern was observed from models with fluoride in water as the exposure variable. The individual effect of fluoride in urine indicated that for each milligram increase of fluoride in urine, a decrease of 1.7 points in full IQ might be expected, unquote. Roca Amador, D., 2007. Quote, in point of fact, fluoride causes more human cancer deaths and causes it faster than any other chemical, unquote. Dean Burke, former Chief Chemist Emeritus, U.S. National Cancer Institute. Quote, we would not purposefully add arsenic to the water supply. We would not purposefully add lead. The fact is that fluoride is more toxic than lead and just slightly less toxic than arsenic, unquote. Dr. John Yamayani. You cannot avoid the fluoride completely, but you can limit the amount you ingest. Your city tests the municipal water supply at least once per year. Request a copy and review it. And there are several types of water filters you can install in your home. Write or call your city. Attend city meetings. You can make a difference. Let your voice be heard, and possibly your city will see the light and stop fluoridating your water. We are one of the few countries who still practice this form of forced medication. This is what big business and a corrupt government will do, and if you let them, it will only get worse. Search the web and investigate for yourself. You decide. Do you trust fluoridation?